Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 13 of the Hockey Tank podcast. This is January 16th, 2022, in blizzard-prone Newfoundland and Labrador. My name is Trevor Blackler, and as always, I'm joined by the kind and king-like Stephen Hale. How's it going, buddy?
It's going good, man. A little bit of a snowstorm in Corner Brook today.
I've seen,
Not
man.
too
I
good
drove through it a
outside.
bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you were gonna come over here, but unfortunately, Mother Nature had other plans.
that's right. Yeah, for I guess all of our listeners, I was going to go over to Stevens today, and we're going to do our first ever live podcast recording. But that kind of got thrown out the window thanks to Mother Nature. So I'm
She's a
back
bit
in
of a dick.
I'm back in my own residence here in CBS. So,
Long
but that's
drive.
all right. For our YouTube listeners, it's going to be exciting because I got a webcam, which means you don't have to look at my grainy face now,
Yeah,
like I'm friggin' recording on a potato. So that's all right.
yeah, we're
So
gonna have
that's,
some good quality now, man.
yes, sir. Top of
Better
the
than
ranks on friggin'
yeah.
YouTube and everything. Everybody can see my pretty face now.
Oh wow.
On today's program, we're going to start off talking about some recent NHL and international hockey news, then move on to the beloved segment, NHL Newfie the Week, and end off the pod with some mock trades that we think we could see this NHL trade deadline. Without further ado, let's talk some hockey. Nicholas Lidstrom takes a front office job with the Red Wings as president of hockey operations. Just by my smile, you can probably tell I love this move. What do you think of it?
Sent it to you on Instagram as soon as I seen it. That's what I think of
Yeah,
it. Uh,
yeah,
I don't know if they could have made a better move, honestly. Bringing in a
no,
guy like that who played for so long, and it seems like a lot of teams who are turning into more of a success these recent years got players who played with them before, like Joe Sakic, Colorado. That's
look
my
at
only example, but
no, I got a good one. Look what the Ducks are doing. They just brought back Paul Kira, or Jesus man, Korea
Korea. Actually,
and
LA got Rob
Timo
Blake, and
Solani.
LA got who's LA's GM? Rob Blake,
Yeah,
and former players, right? So I mean, seems like Ron Hextall was with Philly, but he kind of shit the bed there.
he got fucking called out by Bobby Clark earlier this week. Did
Yeah,
you
because he
hear
made
about
really
that?
bad picks. They wanted McCarr, but he insisted on Patrick.
Apparently, he fucked up, and well, per Elliot Friedman on his podcast 32 Thoughts, apparently a lot of GMs were or scouts were texting Elliot about it and saying, no, you got that wrong. We wanted Heiskanen. We didn't want McCarr. We liked McCarr, but we liked Heiskanen more. So Bobby
Still,
Clark, but still, yeah, still picked
still
Nolan
better than
Patrick over
Patrick.
him. But anyway, yeah, I was hearing that Nicholas Backstrom, Nicholas Lindstrom is going to be focusing on the defensive prospects in Detroit, which, I mean, that is, even if he only focused on Detroit defensemen, who knows more about coming over from Europe and playing in Detroit than Nick Lidstrom
Exactly. I
as a
mean,
defenseman?
players who've been through it and now our management can really help, the young guys. And a guy on Detroit who's a defenseman that I really like is Gustav Lindstrom, I think his name is. I think he's a half
Yeah,
decent defenseman.
he's
He's
big. He's a
tough.
stay-at-home
He's
defenseman. He's
stay at
not,
home. Yeah, he's not a
yeah,
flashy guy, but I think he's going to be useful.
yeah, definitely, man. He got into a nice few games last season and he looked great. And this season he's not as noticeable just because he's getting overshadowed by Sider, but still a serviceable defenseman. He'll be top six and just a stay-at-home good defenseman for a long time, I'd say.
Yeah, that Sutter pick really, really was something. It was a really
Wait till
good pick.
Evanson gets in here, man. Evanson is going to be the 2022 version of Nick Lidstrom. Big, tough Swedish
He's
defenseman,
tall.
super tall,
And he can skate
six
well.
foot five, great skater, yeah. But yeah,
It's going to be a
that's
nice addition, man. I
yeah.
can see the blue line shaping up. You got Hronek there. Um,
Albert Johansson from Sweden, Emil Viro from Finland,
Vero, yeah.
McIsaac from Canada.
Yeah.
Our back end is starting to be really stacked. We're starting to need to draft some forwards, and
I think you need to get a center.
yeah, that's what I was thinking about in this draft. I hope we do get a center.
A guy like Frank Nazar.
Oh, I'd love it. I'd fucking love it. Come on, Frankie. I want you.
Come to daddy.
Yeah. Anyway, on to some other news before we get too tied up and carried away. Willie O'Ree's number 22 will be retired by the Boston Bruins on Tuesday, which is 2 days from now. I don't know the date. Geez, I'm terrible at this. On the 18th. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah,
Or
good
maybe it was
news.
already. Was it already retired? Was it last? No, it wasn't last Tuesday.
He has his own award, doesn't he? Willie
I think so.
O'Ree.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah,
I don't know what it was. Maybe it's a trailblazing award of some kind.
yeah, he's a pretty influential person, that's for sure. So that's good.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of shocking it has been done before.
Yeah, I know. That's what like everybody in media said as soon as they announced they were retiring it. It's like, what took you so long?
Yeah,
Like,
well,
paved the way for all these people, like players of color, and only now you're showing him recognition. But he's been in the Boston franchise a long time. He's been doing a lot of good work behind the scenes.
better late than never.
Yeah, it's no surprise. No surprise. You probably already seen this, but Aisha Visram makes her NHL debut with the Kings, which marks the first female to be behind the bench in an NHL game. She's one of the trainers. She's the head trainer down in, I think it's Ontario Reign is the Kings AHL affiliate.
Yes, it is. Yeah. So
yeah, and she's
she was in LA.
head trainer there. And because of COVID protocol, she got called up. She was an assistant trainer.
It's good to see, man. I thought it was pretty cool, actually. It seems normal to me. It didn't, and to be honest with you, it didn't really look out of the ordinary. So
yeah, no, I mean, she's doing something right if she's the head trainer down there. So maybe we will see more females come up and play bigger roles in the NHL.
It's moving that way, man.
Yeah, for sure. Tuukka Rask is back with the Boston Bruins, which couldn't feel more right. I mean, this guy is when I think of Boston goaltending, I think of Tim Thomas, but then right after that, I think of Tuukka Rask. So he's back $1 million for 1 year. So good signing, I think. What do you think of it?
Doesn't surprise me at all. I couldn't see him playing anywhere else. He signed for $1 million over a year, but I think he only gets like $500K of that because
that's right. Half the season's already played through.
Yeah, so it's based on a full season, so he's not going to get the full pay. I don't really think he gives a fuck about that. He's just happy to be back.
Made his money,
playing.
I think.
Yeah,
for sure.
So it's good.
And I mean, there's bonuses in that, I think. So if he, wins the cup, I think he'll get his due for sure.
Yeah, and Swayman got sent down. He kind of took the piss there. So
I mean, you can't really send Allmark down because he's on a one-way, and Swayman was on an entry-level contract, which means you can send him down. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer if you're getting Tuukka Rask back. Yeah, it sucks for Swayman though. I really liked him. I thought he was the better goaltender of the two over this season. But that's it. Allmark might come in and play a good backup role more than a starter role. Maybe he doesn't take too well to pressure. I'm not sure, but
he only played in Buffalo, so never had much of that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Or expectations.
No, he's definitely not. Mark Bergevin is named the senior advisor for the Kings, so that's good. A lot of people thought he was going to go other places in the league, like there was talks of him going to the Ducks and maybe a senior advisor role in Vancouver and maybe even GM, but he landed with the Kings.
Back with Danault.
Yeah, back with Danault. He wanted to chase Danault around. He liked the player.
Yeah, so that's good for him. I don't know if he's gonna. I heard that he was gonna be announced as assistant general manager after this season.
Most likely, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm surprised. He seems like a guy who enjoys being a general manager. So it would have made sense if he went to Anaheim, where Bill Murray stepped down, or because of reasons within, or personal reasons and stuff within the organization. So, I figured he'd be going for just a GM role and being the main guy, but I guess sometimes he might not want to do that after doing it.
You know what? That's smart though, because if I were him, I would have made the same move because I like where the Kings organization is going. And I mean, if he is named assistant GM, I mean, it's your name's still on the cup in 5 years, so
it'll make you look good.
Yeah, for sure. There's a funny one. Rick Bowness absolutely lost his shit after a Dallas loss with good reason. Did you see him taking Pavelski's stick to the behind the bench there?
Beat it like it owed him money.
Yeah, that's right. And money he now owes because he got fined $25K.
Yes, exactly.
So that's brutal for Bowness, and I like Bowness and I like that energy. So I mean, $25K for him is probably just a slap on the wrist. So,
bag of peanuts.
Yeah, that's right. The boys were probably fucking hyped in the dressing room after.
They're probably throwing fucking $100 bills at him.
Yeah. Do you know why he got so mad?
Not exactly.
There was a bullshit call where Heiskanen got tripped and there was no penalty, and then
they went and scored.
And then on back-to-back No, and then there was no call on Heiskanen, but then Heiskanen retaliated and got the penalty. Like, I can't remember the player, but somebody tripped Heiskanen, and then Heiskanen retaliated and got a penalty, and they scored. So it was a 1-1 game because Dallas was winning 1-0. So 1-1 game, and then after that, Jordan Kyrou got like, it was supposed to just be a stick lift or something, but he caught him in the gloves, and Jordan Kyrou, it was essentially just a love tap, and they called him for slashing in like the last few minutes of the game, and they scored again to make it 2-1. And then he flipped his shit.
Yeah, man. The same thing happened to Liljegren on the Leafs with Jordan Kyrou. Jordan Kyrou tripped him, and he never got a penalty, and Liljegren retaliated, and they got penalized. So
something about the Blues, they know how to draw penalties.
Yeah, they know how to piss people off.
Yeah, they're clipping though. So, last bit of news I got, and I don't want to talk about it because it's not hockey related, but I feel like I have to. Kodak Black was absolutely out of his mind the other night at a Panthers game, and he was doing the dirty with his old lady there. Do you got any opinions or thoughts on this?
I don't like it at all, man. You go to a hockey game to watch and enjoy the sport. You don't go to advertise yourself. Like, literally, he's advertised himself the full time he was there. It seemed like he was just showing off who he is. Like, fuck you.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely not good for the game of hockey. I mean, there's still a lot of pride and respect in this game, and it's stunts like that.
He didn't watch the shift, man. It's all about him. He was there just to be in public and just to be like, everybody be like, oh man, look who it is. If I was there, I wouldn't have had a fucking clue who he was. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I didn't know who he was until I seen it on Instagram, and everybody was saying Kodak Black is banging his missus up in the press box.
Yeah, so then he's a rapper or whatever. But I didn't like it. I like to see guys like, Will Ferrell going to the LA game. He's loving it. He's clapping his hands. He's like, enjoying the game, right? So
yeah,
that's what I like to see. I don't like to see guys just there just to flex it. They can go in a private room and whatever.
Agreed. The only positive thing that came out of that is there's some hilarious comments under that video on Instagram. On a lot of people's Instagram, man, it's so funny. It's like, give Kodak Black 2 minutes from hitting from behind. There's just funny stuff like that, man. People are so clever on Instagram, man. I die at stuff like that. And there's hundreds of comments like that, dude. It's so funny.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I like that one too. That's why I figured I'd have to bring that one up.
Yeah. Other than that, frig him. That's my man. Swear.
Yeah, stay away from hockey games if you just want to be doing stuff like that. It's I mean, I can't imagine like parents there with their kids, right? It's like,
get a room, man. Enjoy the sport or don't go at all.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I might retaliate. I might go to a friggin' Newfoundland. What have we got? We don't have the Edge now. We have the Rogues. I might go to a St. John's Rogues game and start banging or something. I don't know. We'll see. Ruin a bit of basketball.
Get a private room.
Yeah, that's right. Do you got any news that you want to talk about?
I do. I want to talk about how fucking terrible the Edmonton Oilers are.
They are fucking an atrocity, man. I watched the last bit of the game. Just an absolute shit show. They were up, I think it was 4-1, and just lost it. I couldn't believe it.
Hold on now. I got my phone out.
It was an absolute shit show. But that kid Josh Norris is an absolute stud, and he had such a sick little moment where his helmet broke, and then his backup helmet wasn't ready.
Grabbed a new one.
So he grabbed a new one off his teammate, number 27. Who the hell is that? Who the hell's number 27?
I'll find out for you in a second. I'll look now. We got number 27's Dylan Gambrell.
Yeah, Gambrell gave him his helmet and said, there you go, Norris, buddy. He went out on the power play and sniped one past Stuart Skinner. And the boys celebrated like they'd never scored a goal before in their life after that.
Yeah.
That was so funny. And it was just such a weird way to mock Edmonton, which should be this powerhouse. And Ottawa was just having so much fun and just laughing on the bench, Like they weren't even trying.
It's funny because a lot of teams think they're gonna go in and get 2 points on Ottawa. And sometimes, I know they do lose a lot of games, but when you go in and you underestimate them, you're gonna get shit on. You're gonna get shit on. They're gonna outwork you. And they're slowly building. It's not as quick as I thought it would be, but there's something there. They just need to add a few more pieces. What happened was Edmonton was up 3-1. Got it scores 3-2. Formenton scores 3-3. out of all people, Artem Zub scores 4-3.
I seen that too, man. I was looking through the box score. And I was like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Artem fucking Zub. You know you're in the dirt when Artem Zub scores on you. I think. Who was it? Was it? I think it was the turnover by Stuart Skinner. There was a turnover there.
I'm not sure. I didn't watch any replays. I watched the last 5 minutes of it when I watched it when it was tied, and I watched fucking the boys just absolutely lose it.
Yeah, he came out of the net or whatever, and he fucked up and whatever. And then Darnell Nurse comes in and scores. Yeah, whatever. Norris scores with the other helmet on. That was sick. That's 5-4 then. And then Sanford puts an empty netter from behind his net, behind Ottawa's net.
It was behind. It wasn't behind his net. It was behind the goal line, and he flicked it down just on a backhand to get it out, and the puck like curved in the net. Like it was going to hit the post, and it was like spinning. You know how pucks do that, and it just like it was almost like you were watching a curling match. It just curled right in the net.
Mm-hmm.
So it was brutal. I felt Oilers' pain watching that.
The aftermath is Edmonton being 18-15-2, and now they're 4 points outside of a playoff spot.
Man, oh man. What are they going to do, man?
In divisions, if you go to Pacific, they're 6 in the Pacific, and Vancouver's on the verge of passing them.
Yeah.
So
Jesus, man. I can't imagine that.
Yeah.
Read me out the Pacific. Who's leading? Vegas?
Vegas, LA, Anaheim, San Jose, Calgary. Then it's Edmonton, Vancouver, Seattle. It's the bottom 3.
If you told me that the 3 California teams this year would be higher than Edmonton in January, spots. I would have said you're insane. I would have said, how the fuck do you think the Ducks, Sharks, and Kings are gonna be ahead of Edmonton?
The Ducks are making the playoffs, man. They're fine right now.
You've been preaching it for years, and I got to give you your due, Steven. You've always had John Gibson's back.
The Ducks are turning it around, man. I mean, they're doing it the right way. They're not Russian. They're not Russian.
They're American.
They're American. No, but they're doing it the right way.
What are you saying about Russian people, Steve?
Oh man, well they're taking a plane.
We're trying to grow our Russian demographics here now.
Yeah. Stop that. Anaheim don't take the plane and just get on the blow and smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, that's right. They smoke cigarettes and do blow in buses like real men, not on planes.
Yeah. Anyways, the moral story is that at the start of the season, Edmonton had a hot start because their power play was clipping at such a high pace. Like every time the power play was out there, they were scoring. And everybody knew that when you get further in the season, power plays don't score as easily. The game gets tighter. Everything, penalty kills get better as the season goes on. So over time, I mean, a lot of people were predicting for Edmonton to drop to a wild card spot or third in the Pacific, somewhere around there, not necessarily being dog shit like this. So
yeah, that's insane.
Goalies need to be fixed. You need to get a goalie there ASAP. Defensively, it's a mess. I mean, Chris Russell, like the fact he's not even in a retirement home is actually shocking.
You know what? He's on IR. I don't think he's playing right now.
Yeah, well, good.
And Klefbom's out too. That's a big.
He's been out for years, man.
At Klefbom.
Yes, man. He's been gone for like 2 years now. He's had injuries. Man. Yes, he has, man. Yeah. When was the last time he played?
I don't know. I know he used to eat pucks though. He used to block shots like a motherfucker, man. I know that.
I'll look now, but yeah.
I want to throw a question at you then, and it's highly debated lately on other hockey podcasts I was listening to. Being so shit like Edmonton is, do you pick up Evander Kane?
Yeah, we never really spoke about that, did we?
No, I was saving it till this week.
Well,
do you pick up Evander Kane if you're Ken Holland?
I think you almost don't have a choice, and
your hands are pretty much tied, aren't they?
Where they're so bad offensively, and they have no depth beyond McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, and Hyman, and I guess you could debate some other players to be in
Warren
there, but
Fogle maybe and Pooja Harvey.
Yeah, but they're kind of secondary scorers. They're not providing you.
Where else?
They're inconsistent.
Where else in the league are you going to find a player that's willing to take league minimum or $1 million for a year and you don't have to give up any assets. They're not trading anything away to get Kane. They're simply signing him to a 1-year contract, pretty much a tryout. And we know what he can do. He can fight. He can score. Stands up for his teammates. He's a good player, but it's just the off-ice antics just hurt the room so bad, you know?
And that's what it is, man, because you bring in a guy, you got to be worrying about the room. Like, they're so desperate that they don't even care the morale in the room to a certain extent. I mean, they just need scoring help so fucking bad that they'll take anything.
If I was a GM, I'd almost never leave it up to the players to make a decision. I would always have the last say. But I think in this case, I mean, you have to take a vote or sit down with groups of players. You got to meet with each line maybe on offense, and then meet with the defensemen and meet with the goalies and say, are you guys comfortable with having this guy in this room, provided what you've heard or what you already know about him? Are you guys comfortable having him in the room? Would you accept him? You know?
Yeah, and I feel if I was a GM, I'd feel like I failed, and I'd be embarrassed if I had to bring a guy in like that on such short notice because the team I put together is so fucking awful. I'm sorry, man. I don't think Ken Holland's the answer. I don't think Peter Chiarelli was the answer. I don't think Dave Tippett
Ken Holland hasn't made that bad of moves so far.
I'm not a fan of what he's done, man. He's brought in guys who don't
Peter Chiarelli
provide
did
scoring.
most of the damage.
Yeah, but I mean, Ken Holland hasn't made it any better. I just don't
You know what? Ken Holland's the one that built that stacked Detroit team. He knows how to build a team. He just doesn't know how to maintain it because he makes friends with the people on the roster. And regardless of their play, he pays them millions of dollars.
He needs to move goaltenders.
No, he's great at building a team. I'll give him that. He will turn around the Edmonton Oilers. But it's going to take some time. I mean,
I'm losing faith, and there's no time. That's the issue. McDavid's been here for years.
McDavid and Draisaitl, they're in their prime as long as they've got contracts in Edmonton. I mean, for the next 6 to 7 years, they will be in their prime. They're the best.
Well, McDavid's contract's only 5 years left or 4, right?
Oh, Christ. Well, I guess that's prime. Well, it's prime in Edmonton. If it doesn't get better by year 3 of that contract, if they're not consistently going to the conference finals, I'd say McDavid might want to look for a way out.
I think this team is doomed. I think this team is doomed, man. I don't see enough there. And what they have that's promising is too young to make an impact right now. Like Broberg, Bouchard, I mean, they're getting there, but they're too young. You need guys who are like 27, 26. I mean, most teams, man, win cup. Tampa came out. You got Hedman, he's older. Stamkos. I mean, these guys are like later, not the later years of their prime, but they're like 27, 28. You got St. Louis, guys are like 27, 28. Then you had Washington.
It took Stammer. It took Stammer 12 years to win a cup. So, I mean, maybe McDavid takes 12 years to win a cup, and that's all it is. And by year 12 of McDavid's career, I mean, Ken Holland's got a bit of wiggle room there to fix his team.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is. I don't think Evander Kane's the answer. I think he's a good player and all, but I wouldn't.
Do you think it's a short-term Band-Aid solution?
Oh, big time. I wouldn't want to sign him beyond this season.
To be honest, I wouldn't sign him if I was Edmonton.
I wouldn't want to sign him. I'd feel embarrassed, but I mean, that's all you can do.
I wouldn't sign him, period. I mean, when you bring someone like that in the locker room, it just throws off every bit of energy. People feel like they're on eggshells then. I mean, they've already got enough pressure. I mean, what if they come in and then because Evander Kane tears up the room that much, they do even worse? I bet Ken Holland.
Dude, it's on the go. Sorry, my internet just cut out for a sec. What were you saying? But hello. I think we're back now, right? Dude, I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Because I can't hear. How's my audio?
Your audio's good. I think we're just having a bit of a weird thing there.
Burn. So you can hear me fine right now?
Yeah, we'll keep it going.
That absolutely ruined the mojo.
I just want to know what you said when you cut it because we're having a little bit of internet troubles here. So sorry for people listening. It was just a one of those weird things.
Yeah, we'll try to cut out as much as that of that bad stuff as we can. But no, I was just saying, like, when you invite a player like Evander Kane into the dressing room, you bring all of his toxic energy and all of, his past in with it. You can't really say, okay, let's start over, because the human brain doesn't really work like that. You still make assumptions about the guy. So you really got to be careful bringing a guy. Like, it's one thing to say, okay, it's just a short-term thing. He won't be here next year. Let's just go out and play. But then what if he stares up the room so bad that you do even worse this season? You start slipping even more in the standings, and then you just brought in a guy that ruined the morale going forward as well, not just for this year.
It's a move of desperation, and I think everybody knows that. I think other general managers in the league know that, and I think they're going to be hard on Edmonton at the trade deadline. I don't think anything's going to come easy.
No.
So,
I mean, it's definitely a desperation move. I wouldn't want to make it as a manager, and I probably wouldn't. But yeah, Kenny Holland said in an interview the other day, he said, "I believe the answer is in that room. We just gotta try to find our game again, because it was working before. It was working before. So if they can find a bit of that magic that they had earlier in the season, there's no reason why that team can't put together a good product on the ice. I agree. They do need to, I don't know, work on their goaltending maybe.
yeah,
Sure.
I don't know if it's the coaches either, man, because they go through a lot of coaches. Like, how many coaches have been there since McDavid's been there? I'm gonna look now. I think I got a list here. Here I got a list. McDavid debuted when?
2015-16.
Okay, well, he's been through 3 coaches: Todd McClellan, Ken Hitchcock, Dave Tippett, and pretty much for the longest time, like, I can go back to let's go back to 2009, 2010. All right, you got Pat Quinn for 1 year. Then the next year, 2010 to 11, you have Tom Rennie for 2 years. Then 2012 to 13, you have Ralph Kruger for a year. Then 2013 to 2015, you have Dallas Eakins for 2 years. 2014 to 15, you have Todd Nelson for 1 year. And then 2015 to 2019, you have McLennan for 4. Then Ken Hitchcock for a part of a year. Then Dave Tippett for several years. So, I mean, there's issues there too.
Yeah, that's insane. They can't find a voice to rally the boys. That's definitely an issue.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They've had 8 coaches since 2009.
Unacceptable, honestly. Shit, I didn't know it was that bad. I honestly forgot half of those coaches.
It's tough, man. I feel like we could talk about Edmonton for hours because they're not.
Yeah, we should.
Doing
We
well.
could start a whole different podcast just on Edmonton.
Yeah, but it's unfortunate. And hopefully they turn it around because
Definitely,
McDavid.
everybody likes to see McDavid at his best, so for sure. And
good for the
rest
game.
of the Oilers.
Yeah.
All right, folks, stay tuned. We're gonna bring you NHL Newfie of the week coming soon. Welcome back, folks. Thanks for sticking with us so far. Now for one of my personal favorite segments on this pod is NHL Newfie of the Week. Everyone, please welcome hockey historian Caleb Smith. How are you doing today, man?
Good, man. How are you?
Not bad. Just come in from a long drive from Deer Lake, so
Red
I'm a
Deer.
bit tired, but always love
Red
talking
Deer,
about. Always love talking about a bit of hockey.
Ready to go. Who's the Noof, man? I want to hear.
All right, the new for this week is a defenseman from Bay Vert called Brad Brown.
Oh, that sounds mean.
Yeah, man. I have never heard a Newfoundlander make it from friggin' Bay Vert.
Dude,
No.
I just got to put this out there. I've played in Bay Vert a couple of times growing up, and I honestly don't know if Bay Vert ever fucking beat us, to be honest. And like, I
Not a
never
chance.
heard of this Brad Brown guy ever. Like, they don't have even a picture of this guy in their stadium that I can remember. Like,
No.
I don't know. Just
He
seems
probably
a
had to
bit-
get the hell out of there to make it anywhere. Let's be honest.
Probably played
Yeah.
3 games there and was like, "Oh my god, I'm way too good to be here.
I'm
See you
gone."
later."
Anyway, let's get into his pro career and not his fucking favorite Sabres career.
Thank God.
Anyway, as a youth, he played in the 1989 Quebec Pee Wee tournament with a team from Mississauga. So, like you said, yeah, he probably did fuck off at an early age. And he also played midget in Toronto. So, yep. So he
Good on him.
moved away pretty young. Yep.
Yeah, Mississauga and Toronto's real close, so makes sense.
Yeah, man. 4 seasons he played in the Ontario Hockey League with. He played 3 seasons with North Bay Battalion and then 1 final season with Barrie Colts. And I got to point out some seasons here in his junior career that stood out to me. In 93-94, he put up 196 penalty minutes in the OHL.
Oh, tough cookie.
The following season, 94-95, he scored 46 points, his junior career high, or season high, sorry. And he tallied 172 penalty minutes while doing it.
Wow.
Jeez, man. He can
This
score
guy's
and he
absolute
can fight.
goon.
Anyway, after 4 seasons playing in juniors, he finally made his pro debut in 95-96 with the Fredericton Canadians of the AHL. In 96-97, he was called up for 8 games with the Montreal Canadiens, but he didn't score any points, but he did get on the score sheet. He had 22 penalty minutes in 8 games.
Wow. I want to see how many of these penalty minutes are fighting majors.
Oh my God, man. They're probably all fighting. Besides that last 2 was probably like an elbow or something like that. They were cross-check to the fucking face.
Probably accidentally friggin' put the puck out of play and just got a 2-minute minor.
I wonder how many bar fights Mr. Brown got into. I'd say a good few.
God. Just a picture of him, man, like for the Instagram post. This dude looks like a fucking grizzly bear, honest to God.
I can tell he sounds like a grizzly bear.
He's got a grizzly bear kind of name.
Brad Brown.
Brad Brown.
The brown bear, Brad Brown.
How tall is this guy?
Let's see. I'll look at his card. Height 6'4", weight 218.
It's not bad. That's a nice power forward. That's what you want.
Yep.
That's a big size.
He was defenseman.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Nice power defenseman.
Anyway, the year that he got called up for the Canadians, I think the reason that he got called up in the AHL, he played 64 games with Fredericton and got 368 penalty minutes.
No, dude. Let's have a minute to appreciate this guy. He's the last of a dying breed, the enforcer defenseman.
That's right.
They don't even exist now, man.
They don't make them like that in Corner Brook and St. John's. They only make them in friggin' Bayvert.
Yeah, pretty much.
Holy shit. 368 in 64 games.
That's unreal.
Insane. What do you even do, man? He must be going out. He must be bringing like loaded. Okay, never mind.
He's not from Green Falls, man. He's from Bayvert.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, man. We might have to. Anyway, back to Brad Brown. In 97-98, he played in the AHL at Fredericton again, and he got 297 penalty minutes. In 98-99, he was called up for 5 games with the Habs, and he got 21 penalty minutes in 5 games.
Holy shit.
That same season, he was traded to the Chicago Blackhawks, fucking right, Chicago. And he played his first full NHL season. He played 61 games. He got 1 goal, 7 assists, and got 184 penalty minutes.
Oh, so he's going down. He doesn't like fighting in Chicago. He's more of a skill player there, was he?
Yeah. Put him on the second power play. He went to his head. He got on the second power play for a week, and he just like man changed his game. He'd be stick handling like at home all day. Went straight to the head.
Yeah.
The following season in 99-2000, he had a season high of 9 assists, 0 goals, and 57 in 57 games. So, 9 assists in 57 games.
Not bad.
He didn't
for a defenseman and a fighter.
Yeah, for a defenseman, man. And I mean, for Brad Brown too, to get 9 assists in 57 games, that's a career highlight for him, man.
Yeah. Definitely.
And it still didn't work out too well. The next season, he was shipped to New York Rangers. He played 48 games. He got another goal and 3 assists to just get on the score sheet, show that he at least played there. And then in the next season, he was shipped again in 01-02. He went to the Minnesota Wild, but he played 3 seasons there. He didn't do fuck all. So there's really nothing to highlight there in Minnesota. Sorry, Steven.
He was a hot commodity before that, though. Everybody wanted a piece of Brad Brown.
He kind of calmed down. I think he was getting old. Maybe he was like getting arthritis in his hands or something. I don't know.
Yeah, probably. You can only break your hand so many times before it turns to liquid.
Yeah.
It doesn't go back the same.
And he was traded to Buffalo in 03-04, and he played his final 13 games with the Sabres, and he got 2 assists to show for it.
Why does Buffalo kill every single good prospect in the world?
Yeah. Good prospect. Yeah.
You think Buffalo ruined like Middlestat, man? The first player Buffalo ever ruined was Brad Brown.
That's right. That's what I'm saying.
Buried this guy. Poor fellow.
In 06-07, he went to the AHL, and he played in the AHL and the ECHL up until 08-09, and that's where he retired as a professional hockey player. His NHL totals are 330 games played, not too fucking shabby.
That's pretty good, man.
Yep, 330 games, 2 goals, 27 assists for 29 points, but 747 penalty minutes.
Wow, so this guy was in a lot of scraps, I bet, man. To log those minutes, those penalty minutes, you got to be fighting, man, like almost every fucking other game.
Yeah, I just plugged it into the old calculator, and on average, he was getting 2.26 penalty minutes a game. But I mean, towards the end, he really slowed down with his penalty minutes. I'd like to see his average when he was in his prime of fighting.
Trevor, man, do me a quick one on his AHL fighting stats.
Yep, lay it on me.
AHL totals 200.
Give me his PIMS first, and then his games played.
All right, his penalty minutes in the AHL come out to 1,069.
Wow, what a way to perfect it.
Yeah, he stopped. He got that last major to put him at 9. He was like,
I'm done.
Done fighting.
Hang him up.
And how many games did he play?
He got those 1,069 penalty minutes in 296 games.
No, he never. No, he never, man.
But he was probably drinking a can of Coke on the bench, just waiting to get out there and fucking knock some boys out.
Man.
I was expecting more. That's still only 3.61.
He played more NHL games than he did AHL games.
What a stud.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fucking stud.
Well, I mean, he was going around, man. He moved around. I mean, you said he went to New York, Montreal. Was it Montreal?
Montreal. He started in Montreal, and he played
New York,
3 full seasons in Minnesota too.
Yeah. So, well, geez, that wasn't much back then. Price, I could have played 3 full seasons in Minnesota back then. I was in the fucking crib.
2003, Minnesota made the conference final. Shut the fuck up, Steven.
Gabrick, boy.
Manny Fernandez, actually.
Manny Fernandez.
That was actually all Brad Brown and Aaron Gabrick. The two of them, they said, were inseparable on the ice. Always finding each other.
That's point that out, Trevor. Brad Brown was actually on that Minnesota Wild team. Probably the best Wild team of all time, considering he made it to the conference finals.
Yeah, until lately.
Until this year.
Did you find anything on Brad after his career?
I actually did, and you're never going to fucking believe it. After hockey, he became an accountant executive.
An
accountant, yeah, and he became an executive accountant, I guess, for a certain company. And he's also the president of MapleSoft Hawks Hockey Organization, which specializes in AAA hockey teams with both men and women.
Holy shit, that's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Oh, that's he must have got a good education after, man.
I mean, for a guy that got knocked in the head so many, he's kind of like Stu Grimson. Stu Grimson is a smart fucking man. So
I've heard that. Yeah, he's well spoken too.
He is, man, and maybe who knows? Maybe Brad Brown is like that too.
Yeah. If you can't fix your bank account, it'll fix your fucking teeth.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a good slogan, man.
Yeah. I would hate to be doing business with that guy and fuck him over or something. And then he's just at your front door ready to
I'd be shivering like this man in his office doing up the numbers.
Oh my god.
Anyways, it's good for him.
Yeah,
I like him. I think he's my favorite Newfie of the week.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And he's a fucking former Blackhawk, buddy. Can't go wrong with a former Blackhawk.
No, man. He just needed to get on Detroit, and then he would have been on all of our teams. But
yeah, exactly.
Should have come over in 2002. Could have got him a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
But he chose Minnesota instead.
It was Minnesota.
From Bayvert to Minnesota. What a legend.
Everyone's dream.
Yeah. The American dream.
Yeah. The Bayvert dream, they call it.
The Bayvert dream.
Oh, man.
Well, man, thanks for the info, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by, Kel, buddy. We'll see you next week.
Always a pleasure, boys.
All right. Take care. Welcome back, everyone. That was certainly an interesting NHL Newfie of the week, so thank you for that, Caleb. Now, down to business. The NHL Trade Deadline is on Monday, March 21st, 2022. This is the time of the year when playoff teams look to add players to push them over the top, and when bottom feeder teams look to move pieces out for future assets. Although this is still 2 months away, Steve and I thought it would be fun and informative to throw around some mock trades that we could see happening this trade deadline. We've got 3 players each we think could be on the move. Steve, what's your first trade? Or your first player, sorry.
First player that I think could be on the move is probably John Klingberg of the Dallas Stars, and I think that's pretty much evident that he's going to be moved at this point.
Definitely. Dallas don't want to give him the money, and Klingy is done taking hometown discounts for a team where he feels he's underappreciated.
Yeah, and I don't blame him. Although he's not having a good year this year to his standards. 30 games played, 17 points, and minus 11.
Yeah. He's been he was out for a lot of injuries. That's why the points are low, and I don't know what happened to the Dallas Stars. They're just not a good defensive team this year.
It's mediocre numbers. But he's still like he's a big defenseman, like a big name defenseman. You're going to pay up if you want this guy on your team, regardless, in my opinion. Yeah. I think that you're going to overlook the numbers. You're going to look at years past. He's still not that old like that for a defenseman. He's still got a nice few years left, and he's on an expiring deal, I think, which like we're talking about, he wanted to get a big deal in Dallas, but they don't see eye to eye. The first team that I think that could use an upgrade like this on the blue line would be the Boston Bruins.
Yeah.
They lost Krug, they lost Chara in recent years. They got McAvoy. He's one of the better defensemen in the league. But I think Klingberg would be a great add. He'd probably pop up on the power play and be really good on that power play with guys like Pasternak, Bergeron, Marchand, and who else do you put on the power play?
I'm not sure. Jake DeBrusk, maybe.
Not on this deal. Not after this deal.
All right. Okay.
A mock deal that I constructed here with Boston is you're gonna have to give up a first round pick. We know that. If you get a guy like Klingberg, you're giving up a first. I said a 2022 first, which is probably going to be somewhere between let's say 17, 18 to 30. Because I mean, Boston can win a cup or they could fuck up, right? I mean,
if they're out in the first round, I mean, it'll be probably 17 or 18, and
they could go on a run because it's Boston. So
that's right. You're looking at the later half of the first round anyway.
Then I got a next year's third round pick, 2023. That's the 2 picks I have in a deal, first and a third. I have winger Jake DeBrusk for some money to go the other way. He's currently played 30 games. He has 10 points and he's a -3. So not a great year for DeBrusk, but Dallas they're gonna be looking to get a player back. And then I have a defensive prospect in the deal, Mason Lowry. He's 58th overall in the 2020 draft. 19 points and 24 games played in the NCAA for Ohio State. He's a defensive prospect. So 4 pieces I think Boston would have to give up there. They're going to have to give up a roster player, a middle of the pack prospect, and a third round pick and a first round pick.
Yeah, I could see them doing that if they're serious about going on playoff run. I just worry that at the right-handed offensive defensemen are getting paid in the league right now, Boston would have no choice but to let him go to market in the
but no, I feel like this would be a discussion. Like, would you be willing to sign here because do you know how our team works and our cap structure works? Would you be willing? You'd be appreciated here. Would you be able to sign here, like for a chance to win every year, pretty much?
Yeah.
And I think that deal makes sense, man. I do. I don't know what other people think out there, but I think that deal is reasonable.
I don't know what Jake DeBrusk's cap is off the top of my head, sorry, but I think it's somewhere around $4 million, isn't it? It's 3.65 or something. Yeah. So that with the prospects and everything, are they up in the NHL or are they?
No, it's not even. It's an unsigned prospect, I believe.
So you'd have to somehow get Dallas to retain some money too, because I think
That's what I was
Klingberg
thinking.
right now is 4.9 or 5.3.
Yeah, I was thinking there's going to have to be some money worked out there. So people listening, I didn't do the specific dollar amounts. I didn't get it down to a key or to a T, sorry, where the deal can work perfectly, but it just gives you a bit of an idea what I think they're going to have to give up to get a player like this.
Yeah,
Now,
definitely.
Dallas might have to retain a 1.5 mil, or, Boston might throw in a guy who's making like 1.3 mil who's playing like fucking they're on the scratch list of a roster. So.
Well, just based on the last offensive defenseman that was traded, I mean, Chicago had to give up Boquist, 2 first-rounders, and a 4th-rounder, I think, and then coming back the other way from Columbus with just Seth Jones and a 2nd or 3rd. So, I mean, there's 3 first-round assets going to Columbus for an offensive defenseman. So that's the asking price. So I know DeBrusk and the 1st-rounder are first-round assets. They might even ask for another 1st-round asset.
Yeah. Well, Mason Lowry, as I'm
Is a 2nd-rounder.
He was a 2nd-round pick last year, and he's got 19 points in 24 games in NCAA. So he's more, I believe, he's a two-way defenseman.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a good prospect there. You're going to add him in your AHL team next year. You got a 3rd-round pick, an extra 3rd-round pick on top of the 1st-round pick this year. So that's always
I think
good.
usually college players play out all 3 of their years. He's probably got one
depends. Some guys move up depending on how good a players they are. So, I mean, it depends where you're drafted too. So I can see Klingberg. He's having a tough year, and if Dallas is willing to move him because they know he's not going to re-sign, so they're going to be a little.
They're more than willing. They just want to get a good haul back.
So if they can get a 1st, 3rd roster winger, top 9 winger, and a defensive prospect, I would go ahead with that deal if I were them.
Yeah, my only concern about moving him to Boston is he plays a very similar game to McAvoy, and I don't think
McAvoy is a lot better defensively, I think.
Exactly. So I don't know if it would be worth your while. I mean, so you're telling Klingberg, yes, come to our team, you're a perfect fit, except we have a guy just like you, and you'll be playing behind him in every single situation. You'll be on the 2nd power play, and you'll be on the 2nd line. So I'm not sure he wants to go through with that.
There's not going to be many teams that are going to trade him and put him on the 1st power play right away. Most teams got their guy.
Most teams do have their guy. You're right. So I don't think Klingberg would be comfortable with that, though. He wants to be the man. He feels like he's underappreciated right now.
Well, he's going to be going to fucking Arizona.
I could, I could almost see him going to the Blues, because then you got Parenko, which is your defensive guy, playing 2nd line.
Yeah, you got Krug, who's an offensive defenseman.
And then you got Krug, which is your offensive guy, and then just add another offensive piece.
Yeah, then you got Justin Falk.
Then you also
I don't think the money's going to work. Boston needs a defenseman, and they've lost so many good defensemen. I see Boston as a reasonable, they can make the money work. Boston's good with the cap, and, they got pieces to give up. So I think Boston, behind McAvoy, their defense core is not great. Carlo's okay. I mean, they got a decent defense core. Adding a guy like Klingberg could really help you in the playoffs.
Yeah.
A lot of experience. So, and I also did another little trade. This one's not as in-depth.
Steven.
Klingberg, yeah.
Would you give up Mitch Marner 1-for-1 for Klingberg?
Not in a million years.
Give up Mitch Marner's big salary?
No, not even close. Mitch Marner was a 1st-team All-Star last year. He's the best right winger in the league.
I guess I'm overvaluing Klingberg right now.
And he's been a bit unhealthy this year. He has a couple injuries, and he's had COVID.
Would you rather give up?
He can score 100 points in a year.
Would you rather give up Willie Stiles or Marner for a right-handed defenseman? If you had to, say you're getting equal value.
If I had to, I'd have to give up Nylander. Marner's too good of a player. He's way better. He's one of the best wingers in the league. Have you seen his numbers?
I have seen his numbers. Yeah, I think he's the best league.
I think people shit on him because his cap. It's not amazing cap hit. Like, let's be honest, he's probably $2 million overpaid. But
Yeah,
he's still one of the better wingers in the
the
league.
COVID situation fucked over the players that are getting paid a lot, because that wouldn't seem as bad if the cap was rising with it. But since it's staying static, I mean,
It was signed before COVID outbreak.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the cap could have been 86 million now, and
Yeah,
I'd say wingers would have been getting more. So and
yeah,
is what
it's
it
a
is.
rough look, but yeah.
I don't see Klingberg on that level as Mitch Marner. I think Mitch Marner's elite talent. Yeah. I don't. That's my honest opinion.
Would you trade Matt Zuccarello 1-for-1 for Klingberg and mess up that first line in Minnesota?
No, Zuccarello's key. Yeah. Absolutely key. Minnesota has already a lot of defensemen too. They got Dumlick. They got Brodin. Brodin's getting paid $7 million for the next 6 years after this.
Yeah, you know what? I was debating. I've got a trade coming up that I looked at for the Wild, and it involves a defenseman as well. Going to the Wild, but I said, why would you fix that if it isn't broken? I mean,
Goligoski's sick there too.
Yeah, Minnesota is a great defensive team. So
John Merrill just re-up.
Fuck you guys. I liked him in Detroit.
He's good, man. He's good. He's a decent defenseman for what he is.
Yeah. Do you have another trade for Klingberg you were looking at?
Yeah, Nathan? Another one that I don't have so much info on necessarily, but I think it might be able to work. I had John Klingberg getting traded to the Anaheim Ducks. For this one's a little bit more out there. For Maxime Comtois, Brendan Goulet, a first-round pick this year and a second-round pick next year.
I wouldn't say that's out of the ordinary. I'd just say that it'd be the same position as, I guess, any other team. You know, you'd be pushing down a good defenseman to bring in Klingberg and then just shifting around that kind of stuff. But
I think Anaheim needs another defenseman because
I feel like they're just, I don't know, great at growing defensemen. It seems like they have a lot of good defensemen outcomes.
They do. You're right there, but I don't know. I feel like if they want to add wouldn't hurt to get a defenseman who's proven. Then you can move out a guy who's like fucking Cam Fowler, who's making a ton of money and he's not that amazing. Like, he's okay.
I always thought Cam Fowler was going to be the next big thing in hockey.
No, he's not even the next big thing in ECHL if he gets sent down. Anyways, Maxime Comtois is struggling this year. He showed last year that he's a really good forward. He's having a bad year this year. Brendan Goulet's never really made it at the NHL. I mean, he's still one of those guys that has a bit of potential. So he could bounce around between the NHL and AHL. First round pick this year, probably 15, 14, 16, 20, something like that. Middle.
Depends how far they're right in there right now. You know, like if they keep playing good,
This is at the trade deadline, by the way. So if they play good by the trade deadline for next 2 months, still playing.
Yeah, exactly. This is still 2 months away, right? So it's just all speculative based on the information we have now. You know, this could be totally different a month, let alone 2 months away from now.
Yeah, and also second in 2023. Fuck sakes. Anaheim's had a lot of picks, so a second in the next year after is not that big of a loss when all things considered. And that's my Klingberg trades. I think it's a guy who's making $5 to $6 million, whatever he makes. It's going to be hard to find a spot for him to fit, and there's only certain teams that are going to be willing to give up that first round pick and whatever else needs to be involved, like a roster player and prospect. So
yeah, it's a weird dilemma we have in the NHL right now, where if you want to get paid, you have to go to a team that's shit. But what was I just about to say? But all the teams that are shit don't want to pay the price to get the player. You know,
it's weird. Yeah.
So it's almost better if Klingberg just says, no, I'll play the rest of the season here and then just leave. But then I don't know if Klingberg's on a no movement clause. I never checked. But if he's on a no movement, he could just stay there and say, fuck you, I'm not going anywhere, and just test out free agency. He'd get paid on the open market, and it's the same kind of thing. He was willing to dish out probably around, what do you think I think he wants around $8 million a year.
Yeah, I think if he goes
and I think he wants term as well.
I think if he goes to a place like Boston, he'll probably get 7 point something for 8 years.
I don't think they can afford that. They're only giving up Jake DeBrusk in your trade.
Yeah, but they got money to move, though. They got guys who can move. Every team, when you got a guy like that on your roster, you can move money to fit him in.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it. You're going to move out guys who aren't as good to bring in.
Unless you're Vegas. they're fucking handcuffed to the fucking. They need.
Yeah.
I heard they might try to move Riley Smith and Dadonov
Yeah.
to try to free up some money for Eichel.
Yeah, well, you got to make a move. So
Yeah, so I mean that's just easy pickings for teams now to get depth. They know Vegas's hands are tied, so it's like, okay, don't move it then, and then you'll be stuck being over the cap, and you'll have to bench the players instead of getting an asset for them.
exactly.
So it's going to be interesting because I don't think they're going to get very good returns for any of those players because all the other teams know they have to make the move. So it's going to be interesting to see.
That's why I'm saying like it's not going to be as big of a haul as what Seth Jones or whatnot gave you. So
Fair.
Yeah. Anyways, who's a guy you think could be traded?
The first player on my list that I think might get dealt this trade deadline is Jacob Chickering. Good Canadian boy. I think he might be on his way out of Arizona. He's been disgruntled for a couple seasons now. He's having a very poor season on a very bad team. He scored 18 goals last year. In this season, he has 2 goals, 5 assists, and he's a -29. So a very just flip-flop from how good he did last season. Right now, Jacob Chickering is making 4.6 for the next 3 years, but he's currently on injured reserve. I think one possible move for Chickering is to the Avs. Go play with McKinnon and the boys.
That's a big move.
I know, that's huge, isn't it? But I think it works out. So Jacob Chickering's making 4.6. In order to make this move necessary, Arizona would have to receive Darren Helms and Valerie Nichushkin, Bowen Byram, Darren Helm, and a 3rd rounder.
Bowen Byram.
Yeah, I think, and it's
dude.
If I know, listen, hear me out though. I think if Colorado wanted this, they'd have to move some money because right now they're up against the cap. So they'd have to move Nichushkin's contract because he, I think, only has like 17 points on the season and he's making like 3.5 or 4 million. Bowen Byram is on the team and he's making almost $1 million, and Darren Helm is making $1 million. So combined, these 3 players would work out and leave Colorado with approximately $794,000 in cap space. It immediately improves their top 4 immensely and also makes room for roster spots for young guys like Newhook and Maltsov. I know it's a lot. Bowen Byram right now, how I see it, is a Nolan Patrick situation. This guy has diminishing value. He's got concussion issues right now, and he's known. I hate to use this against the player, but he's come out and said he's from his concussions has caused him mental health challenges. He doesn't feel himself. He can't travel with the team because he can't. It's too hard for him. So I kind of see this guy right now as kind of just like 75% of the time this player is going to work out and be good, but on the other 25% chance, you got a Nolan Patrick situation where you can barely get anything for a 2nd overall pick. So I think if Colorado is serious about winning right now, I think they do have to make this move. Well, I guess they don't have to, but but yeah,
you must. Joe Sakic, if
you have to. You have to, Joey. If you want to win the cup, you have to get Jacob Chickering and send out your best defensive prospect.
I personally, man, I love you, but I personally don't agree with you here. But I like your
Arizona
enthusiasm.
Arizona needs a 1st round asset for Jacob Chickering, and I think Bowen Byram more. Like they'd probably be looking for 2 or 3.
You're right about
I think
that.
Bowen Byram just supplements that and says that's great. Now how are we going to make the money work? And then you give him Darren Helm and Nichushkin, and that makes the money work to where Colorado would have $1 million left over. After this trade, I viewed Colorado now having 9 defensemen on the roster. To help this, I would move Ryan Murray to an Eastern team like Toronto in exchange for a depth checking forward like Nick Ritchie or Kyle Clifford and a late round pick to help to help supplement the loss of Darren Helm and Valerie Nichushkin. This additional move would leave Colorado with more cap space and give them better checking forwards to help them in deep playoff runs. So I don't think you have to touch Colorado's top 6 forwards. But if you want to improve the top 4 defensemen, you got to move some of your bottom 6 and a prospect.
It's a ballsy move, man. It's
a very ballsy move. But
some heavy balls.
If this does work out like a Nolan Patrick situation, I mean, wouldn't you be happy you moved on from this player right now and just ripped off the Band-Aid right now?
Yeah, we don't know that though.
And I'm gonna throw this to you. Bowenbar, I'm sure if he exceeds
11 points in 18 games, man.
Yeah, well, I think
shit. You stopped in your tracks when I said that.
there's a lot of players on Colorado right now that do what Bowen Barham could do in the future. There's Devon Taves and there's Sam Girard. And I mean,
You're
Ryan
right there.
Murray.
You're right there.
But Jacob Chickering comes in right now as an already finished product. You know what you're getting. He scored 18 goals last year. You don't have to play him with Makar either. He doesn't want first line time. He's used to, being out of the spotlight in Arizona. You could play him on this. You could play Devon Taves, Makar, Jacob Chickering, Sam Girard. And right now, I think that is the best top 4 defensemen in the league. You immediately improve your top 4 defensemen. You give up 2 depth players, but you do give up your future of your back end. But I think Bowen Barham would play that second line time anyway, because you don't want the 2 offensive guys being on the ice at the same time in Makar and Bowen Barham. So I don't know. Yeah, it is a.
The more you talk about it, the more you talk about it,
when you hear it, it really blows your mind. But when you look at the numbers, and I mean the cap space works out perfectly to give. If you trade away Ryan Murray, he takes up $2 million, and you already have $1 million free from the first trade. So you got $3 million to work with for bringing in a depth player, and you'd have to move Ryan Murray to an Easter team. And I figured if you move them to Toronto, which is looking for another defenseman, you might have some, I don't know, like some leverage there, saying, okay, well, give us one of your depth players, and we'll give you a defenseman to help out, but we also want a draft pick. So you might even be able to get the 3rd round back that you traded to Arizona. I don't know if you.
The more you talk about it, the more it makes sense. When you say they're top 4.
Yeah, right. I mean, at Bowen Barham's height, I mean, he's not going to be as good as Makar, but he's going to be pretty damn close. So you just give up a bit of that offensive potential, and you're still getting a guy that scored 18 goals in Arizona last year. So imagine what you could do with that team they got going in Colorado. Let me ask you this. Would you trade Bowen Barham right now 1-for-1 for the Stanley Cup?
Oh, 100%.
I mean, that's what I'm looking
that's
at.
Might what happened.
That's
what happened.
That is what Joe Sakic, I think. I don't know. I would be very tempted. I'd be very tempted to call Arizona and even just ask. What's your asking price?
He wants to DM Joe Sakic on Twitter and say, "This might what happened if you trade Bowen Barham."
and DM a picture of the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, this might what
happen.
And then you'd get on Twitter later and you click on his profile and says this user has blocked you.
Jesus, yeah.
No, man, the more you talk about it, don't make sense. But I feel like if you make that move, you have to make another move. Like you got to go all out. Like you really got to go all out.
That's what I'm saying.
Then you upgrade your forward group.
Exactly. You would have to move a defenseman because you got 9 defensemen then. And I mean, you could throw a couple of young guys that's just on the roster now down. But yeah, you'd have to make an additional move.
Yeah. Nice job, man. Good research.
Thank you. And if not, Toronto, that's just the first team I thought of that needed a defenseman, but you might be able to get something better than a Nick Ritchie or Kyle Clifford. But I think those are good depth players for the playoffs.
Nice job. I like it more than when you started.
I know. As soon as I said Bowen Barham, you're like, Trevor, I love you, buddy, but you're a fucking idiot. Yeah, I know. I really got to like walk you through that trade, I think, because if you told me that too, my mind would be blown. I'd be like, you're fucking nuts. Get out of my face. That's what Joe Sakic said at first too when I DM'd him this morning, but now he's
You want to make a meme for the Instagram account now? This might what happen if put a picture of Stanley Cup or something.
Yeah,
or something.
I'll make a note of it there. I don't know what picture I'll use, but I'll.
This might what happen if Colorado trade Bonebar for Jacob Chickering.
I got a meme in my head. I'm cooking up now. Stay
No,
tuned.
you want to put Chickering. You want to put Photoshop Chickering's face on somebody holding the Stanley Cup.
No,
on like Ray Bork with Colorado or something. Put Chickering's face when Ray Bork held the cup. This might what happened.
No, I got a good one in my head now.
Okay.
I got it cooking up. What's your second player?
I got Gio from Seattle, the first captain in Seattle franchise history.
I would think he was on a move.
Yeah, 31 games played, 12 points, minus 16. It's tough in Seattle this year. They're I think they're 30th in the league. I did 2 trades for this as well. Not as in depth as Trevor, but still I did a couple trades. I think that Mark Giordano could go to Calgary for this year's first round pick. Go back to Calgary. In fact, this year's first round pick, Eric Goodbranson, to balance some money out, and then a prospect who's not the highly thought of prospect, but his numbers are pretty good. It's a winger in OHL. His name's Jack Beck. He was drafted 168th overall last year, and he has 17 points in 12 games.
Beck?
OHL. Yeah.
I remember that name from somewhere.
Jack Beck. So I could see a first-round pick, Eric Goodbranson and Jack Beck going to Seattle for Mark Giordano. And I think that Seattle would be happy enough just to have a selection in the first round. So I don't think Seattle's going to be asking too much for Giordano. I think a first-round pick, especially if he was going back to Calgary, I think a first-round pick, Goodbranson for the money. Goodbranson can fit into the lineup, play on the third defensive pair or be a scratch. And then a prospect who was the later pick, Jack Beck, who has a little bit of promise.
It's just so tough, because Seattle took the captain of the Calgary Flames.
He's on trade bait, man.
And then they were left, right? I know, but they just took him and said, "Fuck you guys, we took your captain, haha," and then named him captain. And then what are they gonna do? Fucking give him back and say, "Hey, just joking, give us a first or something."
Yeah,
This seems like the deal that Vegas would have done before their expansion draft. They would have said, "We're going to take your captain, give us a first rounder."
Yeah. We do it, let him buy a house here and then fuck him over. Then he sold his house in Calgary and I get to go buy a new one.
Yeah.
And
I don't know. As perfect as that seems, a Gio coming home for a long playoff run, now that they are good, I don't think I'd do it if I was Calgary. I mean, they're rolling right now.
Calgary needs a defenseman, though. That's what the issue is in Calgary. I mean, you see it on TSN Sportsnet. They're talking about Calgary needs another defenseman to take some of the load off. Hanfin and Valimaki and Anderson.
What's Gio's cap? $6 million?
So around 6. I think Eric Branson's not going to do it. I think you're going to have to retain some money.
Yeah, I'm just thinking because if Gio's was that, I mean, why not Calgary go out and get Klingberg? Klingberg's only making like 4.9 or 5.3 or somewhere around there. The numbers aren't huge for Klingberg. It's less than Giordano's. And I mean, then you could start talking, okay, we'll trade you Branson, give you your first, give you your prospects, and get a defenseman for the long future, I
thought it was just an interesting idea.
Yeah. No, I didn't think about that when we were talking about Klingberg. But yeah, I could definitely see Gio coming home. Gio wants to be in Calgary. I know that for a fact.
I don't think they'd trade him anywhere, though. I think it had to be somewhere that he'd want to go. Just because of the respect for such a long player who's played for so long, sorry.
Yeah. They should have held off naming him captain. I
think so too, man. I feel like it was rushed. I felt like they thought they were going to be better than what they are. And I thought they were going to be better than what they are. And I said that at the start of the season. I said playoffs. I'm wrong as fuck. But you also said Montreal was going to be in, so you don't know anymore.
No. Exactly. No, we're about even on our hockey knowledge, which is shit at sometimes, but all right in other times, which is weird.
And the other trade I had for Giordano was him going to Toronto.
Oh yeah, tell me about
the deadline.
What do you think Toronto would give up? Holy fuck, oh man, where is Toronto getting this cap space?
Listen, now
So Seattle would have to retain. You can only retain up to 50%.
Yes, exactly. They're retaining 50% in this deal.
So Seattle would retain $3 million.
3.375.
Okay.
I think is half of his deal.
3.375. That's a lot of fucking money to retain. What's Toronto giving up for that?
I think Toronto had to give up Justin Hall, who has a $2 million cap hit.
All right.
So that's like what? That's pretty much $6 million there, and then they make a little shuffle around the AHL, NHL.
Straight up, 1-for-1. Here's Justin Hall. Give us Giordano.
No, that's not it. No, that's not it.
I'm only fucking with you.
No. Then I think they give up 2023 second and a 2023 third.
Giordano's worth more than that.
Justin Hall is a
serviceable. They got to give up the first. Does Toronto still have the first?
I think they can get him for a second and a third next year, and Justin Hall.
You're gonna have to pay Seattle to retain cap space. Definitely, that's what teams. That's why Vegas was so clever with theirs, because they paid teams to take cap space off their hands. And that's why Arizona's rebuild is looking good right now, because they're being paid in picks to take cap space. If you're gonna retain cap space, you're gonna ask for a pick. You're trading with your heart. Toronto's going to have to lose that first, man.
Listen. I'm saying this because we both know Giordano's not staying after that year. Toronto, no, but I feel like if Seattle gets in a bit of a rut there and they're like, we can't trade this guy, like they might call up Toronto and say, what are you going to do? Well, we'll give you Justin Hall second and third.
If their hands, yeah.
How Giordano's like, he's like 37, man. Like,
yeah. So, yeah.
You can get a first round pick from a team who really cares about him. Other than that, like for the first round pick I had for Calgary, it's first round pick and Eric Branson. Good Branson's dog shit. Let's be honest. But he can still stay around in the NHL for a bit. And then a Jack Beck, who's like a low level prospect. And this year getting Justin Hall, who had an excellent year last year, plus 20 or whatever last year. He's having a tough start this year. He's got 3 points in 20-something games. I believe he's a +4. So he's going to be on – he's probably a second pair defenseman in Seattle, honestly, because they're not that good. So you put Justin Hall in your second pair, you get a second-round pick and a third-round pick. So that's 2 prospects there. And Giordano's probably not going to stay after this year anyways, is he?
I doubt it. I mean, he's got no reason to.
So because he wants a cup most likely. And for Seattle to retain that salary, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you're going to have to do that if you're going to make a deal with Toronto. So
yeah.
I think it's not – I think it's an okay deal. I think it's more of a last resort deal for Seattle.
Yeah, it definitely is. That would be the phone call they'd make if they can't get anything for him anywhere else.
Or if no trades are working out. If nothing's working out, they'll make that phone call.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, still, you got to play with the numbers a little bit there. But Kyle Dubas is really good at making room in the cap space for his players.
If there was an offer for a Giordano and for a second or third Justin Hall, something like that, I think they'd be able to make that work. I mean, that one's a little bit more out there than Calgary because, you're getting a first and a prospect, lower level prospect, obviously. But
yeah, it seems like Calgary would be the first team that Seattle would call, and Toronto would be the last team that Seattle would call in this situation. Yeah. Or maybe that's just like what you start asking for Giordano versus
and what you end up, what ends up being.
I don't know. In my mind, like defensemen are highly valued in the NHL, right?
Yeah.
There's less jobs available to them, and you need good defensemen. So I don't know. I think Giordano is still worth a first round pick.
And it's also where Giordano wants to go to, and he's a Toronto boy, born in Toronto, Ontario.
Was he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm bad at. I could tell you what each player, like which way they shoot, which way their stick is curved, but I wouldn't be able to tell you where they're from.
Yeah.
Unless you have a player like fucking, I don't know.
And I think Seattle's going to do it out of respect for him, and they're not going to trade him anywhere he doesn't want to go.
Yeah.
So I feel like he'd like to go back to Calgary. I feel like he'd like to go to Toronto.
Yeah. Probably just play in the Canadian market. He really enjoyed his time in Calgary.
Yeah.
And in interviews I've heard, I've heard other people talking about this same move that you're talking about the Giordano trade, and they say he's been nonstop talking about Calgary, his time in Calgary, how he loved his time with the Flames. So it would make sense to go back to the Flames,
Yep, and that's my second pick. Who's up for you?
I have Thomas Hertl on the move from the Sharks. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense right now, just looking at the standings, because Sharks aren't actually doing that bad. But he's wanted out of this team for a while now. It's been a couple years, and he's a UFA this summer, which means he'll most likely walk if they don't trade him. Like I said, he's been rumored to be on the move, and he'll probably move this March. One team in the league that could definitely use this player above all else is none other than the Boston Bruins. Hertl's clearly not motivated when he scores, even though he's got 20 goals, 11 assists this season. I should have wrote down his games played, but it's probably around, 32-ish?
32, 35.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's got 31 points in those games, so he's almost point game player. He's making $5.6 million this year. And like I said, he's a UFA this summer. So I think the Sharks would trade Thomas Hertl to the Boston Bruins just on his own without any picks. In exchange, Sharks will receive Jake DeBrusk, Urho Vakanainen, and Boston's second-round pick in this upcoming draft. For this to work, Sharks would have to retain $1.5 million of the rest of this season on Hertl's contract to make this trade work. In my eyes, the Sharks are getting 2 first-round assets in Vakanainen and Jake DeBrusk, 2 prospects that haven't worked out quite as well as Boston would hope, and could maybe see, a comeback story in a California market. Hertl. So you got the 2 first-round assets for Hertl in the 2 players, and then you're giving up a second rounder to retain the $1.5 million in salary, which is the second part of that deal. I think this deal works out good for both teams. I think Boston, even more than a defenseman, need a second line center. This would probably be a rental. It sucks giving up 2 first round assets and a second rounder for a rental, but I don't think Boston would have the money to keep Hertl after this, because Hertl would probably want, he's almost a point per game, so I'm thinking he would want probably around 6 or 7 million, and Boston just can't afford that. So they would just look to win another cup. They'd miss out on those draft picks, but they would keep their first round pick. But after that, then they have another 6 million free cap space in this summer to look for another UFA center, which kind of sucks because you want to be developing, your core. But if you have to trade for them and pick them up in free agency, it is what it is.
Yeah, man, I like that. We both don't like Jake DeBrusk. Clearly, think he's movable.
Well, I think he's movable just because of his contract isn't too bad. A team could eat it, and he just doesn't work in Boston. They've tried him on the first line, second line. He's on the third line right now. He just doesn't work. So he needs a move. And Vakanainen, drafted in the infamous. Actually, he was 2017, wasn't he? I thought he went 2015. He was in the 2017 draft. So, you hate to trade away defenseman so early, but you are trading him away to a Western team that you'd rarely see. You might play him twice or 3 times in the whole season. So you wouldn't see much of him, even if he did turn into a serviceable defenseman. And you're not giving up a first rounder, a second round pick in this upcoming draft. So I could see it. The numbers work if the Sharks retained the 1.5 million.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. Boston, since Krejci's gone, they do need an upgrade there. And, I've said, I feel like I've heard you talking about Hertl to Boston before. I feel like you already had this in your head.
It just seems like it works, a player that's not happy with his club gets a chance to go.
Isn't he Czech?
He is Czech. Yeah, Czech,
and
I think.
Krejci was Czech too.
Yeah, replacing him right in his shoes. I think Hertl's a bit more offensive than Krejci, but
yeah, different player.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm not sure. I don't know how Hertl would do. He's always played second fiddle though. Couture is the first liner. And
I think he'd be fine with Taylor Hall.
Oh man, he played with Taylor Hall, and you wouldn't have to brust, but you could pick up not pick up, but you could move.
Maybe you put Pasternak on his line. Isn't Pasternak Czech too? Just mix it up a bit.
Yeah, he is Czech, I think, or Slovakian. But
then you get Son Yager.
That's true. Yeah, you got to bring Yager back, or you could just take out the middleman and just sign Krejci to a fucking 1-year deal again if he'd come back for the playoffs.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know. I'm not too sure. I know Hurdle. I want Hurdle to be in Boston, but it doesn't seem like Boston has the right assets to trade because neither Jake DeBrusk or Vakanainen have a great resume, you know. But you are getting 2 NHL caliber players. Just
yeah, you might want to. They might want a bit more. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they definitely would want a first, but I mean, there's still 2 first-round assets in this trade. They just haven't.
2 risky first-round assets.
Yeah, they're young. I mean, Jake DeBrusk is only 7 years since drafted, and Vakanainen is only 5 years since drafted, but they still haven't made great development. I don't know how the Sharks are at developing wingers and
might need to put a
defensemen.
sweetener in that trade.
Yeah, that's what the second-round pick is. You might have to throw in the first instead of the second.
Yeah, I think that's what you do.
Boston's going to be drafting probably above 20, like we said 17 earlier, but if they play Leafs in the first round, they definitely get a plus 20 draft pick.
Yeah, well, that's everybody knows that.
No, I'm joking, buddy.
No, I'm pretty sure Leafs are either playing Tampa Bay or Florida. That's pretty much the way it's looking.
I think they'll play Tampa Bay, which is so hurt.
That's sick. I'm actually be so pumped for that because I feel like the Leafs would end their streak.
I feel like
anyways,
Tampa Bay would continue the Leaf streak.
We're getting sidetracked.
Yeah. All right. Here's your third player that's on the move this March.
Phil Kessel.
Yeah, I agree with you.
He's leaving the desert.
My Jesus, Jacob Chickering and Phil Kessel leaving.
25 points in 36 games, -8. Not bad numbers. 5 goals, 20 assists.
Jeez, he's like a ghost. He's not doing bad, and I haven't recognized him at all.
Yeah, he's getting those secondary assists, man. He is. He's
Tipping
not much of a
in.
goal. He's not a goal scorer like he was at one point.
No.
I don't think you're not going to get a first round pick for Phil Kessel. I mean, and I've seen that. I've seen people talk about that online. I've watched YouTubers. You're not getting like they were trying to trade Kessel this summer for a first round pick, and nobody was picking up the fucking phone. He's just older now. I mean, it's just one of those things. You're just gonna have to sell him a bit low. I can see him going to the New York Rangers for Patrick Nemeth, defenseman who got a little bit of money, 2.53, whatever he makes. He's got 2 points, 35 games, -9. He's gonna play in Arizona probably, especially if Chickering goes. So you get a guy who plays NHL experience, can play in the NHL. I think they're going to get a second rounder this year and a fourth rounder this year, and Libor Hajek.
Hajek used to play in. I think he used to be in Detroit.
Yeah, so I think you can get 4 pieces. I think you can get Nemeth second, fourth, and Hajek for
nice.
Kessel.
Two defensemen that used to play in Detroit, and then yeah.
Hajek's he's a younger defenseman.
Yeah, he is.
So Hajek might work out in the
works.
future. And you get a second round pick, and Nemeth is he's just a cap move, really.
What's Phil making?
He's making 6, I think.
He's making 6. Gotta check that out, man.
Arizona got a fuck ton of cap space though, so I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, if Arizona retains, you're right.
Yeah, so that's what I got, and then I have in my last.
Well, then you'd have to throw them a bone then for retaining the cap.
Yeah, Hajek is the bone. We'll see. I don't think you're going to sell Kessel for much. I mean, it's just one of those things.
Honestly. I think he's worth a bit more than that, especially if you get him around the break.
Maybe you throw in a third instead of a fourth.
Yeah, you'd have to. I don't know. You'd have to do something there for sure.
And my last trade of the evening is Phil Kessel going back to Pittsburgh. I
was just about to say that.
I like the comeback stories tonight. Clearly, Gio to Calgary, Kessel to Pittsburgh. To make this work, I feel like you got to retain $2 million, $3 million, something like that. Arizona's going to retain pretty much any money when they trade to anybody.
I mean, everybody's cap is shot just because of the flat cap.
Yep, and I think you also get a second, a third. A second this year, third this year, fifth next year, and Michael Matheson.
I don't think I'd take that if I was Arizona. Maybe if I had no choice.
But I think you get a couple pieces, and then you get a player who can play okay at the bottom. It's basically I think you're gonna get a shitty defenseman, a shitty-ish defenseman, and a couple picks, a second, a third, and a fifth. Michael Matheson. That doesn't look that good, does it?
I don't know, not for Phil Kessel, because you know what he can do there. So you just gotta sweet talk. Who is it? Brian Burke. You gotta get in his ear. Like, you remember 2016, 2017, don't you, buddy? He fucking knows what he can do in Pittsburgh. Just start sweet talking him.
I just don't see Kessel being sold for much. I'm gonna be honest with you. It sucks, but he's older now and he's on his last year of his deal.
Yeah, that's true. So he would be a rental. You'd have to get him to sign an extension before.
Yeah, but Pittsburgh, like, I don't know. I feel like they give up a lot there for Kessel.
I feel like they've given up too much in the past. They got like no draft picks, no prospects, no nothing.
Yeah, I don't think they care about that,
in the deal here is like Mike Matheson. It's like, this is the best we got, buddy. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, but I don't think Pittsburgh's scared to trade draft picks because I know they're going all out for what they have. They're not looking to draft good players right now. It's just the way it is. They got Crosby, Mock, and Letang. They're committed.
You know what I would ask for if I was Arizona?
What's that?
I'd be asking for either Rodriguez or Brian Russ to be part of the deal.
I don't think Rodriguez would come handy to him, man. Too good of a player. Brian Russ, I don't know if I feel like the Penguins would rather lose him in free agency rather than.
That's if I was Arizona, that's what I'd be asking for initially. I'd be setting the bar pretty high.
Maybe you could get a different player. Maybe you could squeak in a guy like Pierre-Olivier Joseph and then take away some of the picks.
No, but I wouldn't go for prospect. If I was Arizona, I'd be like roster player for roster player, and then picks from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, but I think Russ is a better player than Kessel.
Do you?
Yeah.
I don't think he has a scoring touch. I think the all-around game is there just because he's younger. I think he's quicker because he doesn't eat so many fucking hot dogs on the golf course.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, anyways, it could go anyway. I just like to see him go back to Pittsburgh, but that's my mock trade.
Yeah, I would too. I'd like to see him in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, so who's your last guy?
My last guy is none other than Marc-Andre Fleury. Let me tell you about Mark. Okay, let me tell you Mark's story. He's 37 years old, $7 million, and he's a UFA this summer. This season, in 26 games, he has 13 wins, 3 shutouts, and a .915 save percentage. Pretty good, all things considered. Chicago's pretty shit. I think I'm not telling any lies here. He's an older goalie, but is still passionate as ever. He really wants to play some, playoff hockey. I think the move everyone wants to see is him to go to Edmonton, and I'm no different. So in my trade for Flower, it's a 3-way deal. The first move that would have to be made is Chicago would have to retain half Fleury's salary. They're good on salary. I mean, even with bringing in Seth Jones, they still have plenty money to retain 3.5 of Fleury's $7 million. So Chicago would retain 3.5 million and then send him to Detroit for future considerations, which could end up to be there could be a clause in that kind of contract. I'm thinking if Fleury does good down the road, then maybe you bump that 7th rounder up to a 6th rounder. But basically, you're just giving an asset for an asset. Sorry, I missed something. Flower would have to be traded with a 3rd rounder. So Detroit would get a 3rd rounder and Marc-Andre Fleury for future considerations. Then, once in Detroit, Detroit would have to retain a quarter of Fleury's salary, which would bring him down to $2.625 million. Then Detroit trades Fleury to Edmonton for Oilers' 4th round pick in next year's draft. Are you still with me, folks? Because I know this is fucked. I'm gonna do a breakdown at the end.
That's a sick deal, though.
I'm gonna do a breakdown at the end. Edmonton, in exchange for Marc-Andre Fleury, then sends Chicago Cody Ceci, Matvei Petrov, and a 2nd round pick for 2023. So Cody Ceci, he's got a big contract. I'm not sure if I wrote it down. I didn't write it down, but Cody Ceci, I'm pretty sure, is making. No, I did 3.25 for the next 3 years. So Chicago still got to bite the bullet on that, retain that salary. So that's why you're getting additional picks. Chicago also receives Mete Petrov from Edmonton. And so far this year, he's got 54 points in 33 OHL games. Edmonton also sends Chicago a second-round pick in 2023. And Chicago also receives future considerations from Detroit. So that's Chicago, what Chicago receives. Detroit would receive Chicago's 2022 third rounder and Edmonton's 2023 fourth rounder from, I'll get to that later. And Edmonton receives Marc-Andre Fleury.
There's a lot of receiving here.
Yeah, there's a lot of receiving, a lot of giving. Yeah, that was probably the worst breakdown I could have given.
Just say what team got what pieces.
That's what I just did. I'll go through it again. I'll go through it slower. All right. So I'm sorry.
I just want you to say New York gets not New York, sorry, what I say New York. Chicago gets this, Edmonton gets this, Detroit gets this.
That's what I just did. I'll do it again. I know,
slower. But I felt like it was too quick.
All right. So Chicago receives Cody Ceci.
Cody Ceci, yep.
Matvei Petrov.
Okay. Prospect.
Edmonton's second round pick in 2023.
Okay.
And future considerations from Detroit.
Future considerations. So they're coming out of it with a roster defenseman, a prospect,
a
second round pick, and a future consideration, which
is
be
most
like
likely to be
6th.
So you could have, it's going to be a 7th round pick, but you could put a clause in there from Detroit saying if Fleury goes on to do good, we want a 6 instead.
Mm-hmm.
I think you'd be able to do that. I'm not sure. Or you could just say, fuck it, give me a 7.
Okay,
Detroit receives Chicago's 2022 third rounder.
That's
a third rounder for retaining $2.65 million. And you would receive Edmonton's 2023 fourth rounder for basically
a third and a fourth for holding cap and
So that's what Detroit receives, and then Edmonton would get Marc-Andre Fleury.
Okay, and they're only holding the cap for a year, so they're getting 2 pieces out of it.
Exactly. So
then they're shipping Fleury off.
Yeah, so this is kind of the explanation I had in my mind. This trade will set Edmonton up with a solid goalie for a playoff run. Marc-Andre Fleury has experience in the postseason and is still, as mentioned, very passionate about the game. This trade gives Chicago some cap relief and an additional pick in this year's draft, plus a great offensive prospect in Petrov. One downside to this for Chicago is that they'd have to eat the salary of Fleury, of his retained salary, and take on 3.25 for Cody Ceci over the next 3 years. But you are still getting a defenseman.
Well, Chicago be getting a lot more than what Vegas got.
Yeah, true.
So,
true. Well, yeah,
not a bad deal.
That's desperation for you, buddy. And Detroit basically picks up 2 picks for eating Fleury's cap and facilitating the trade. So that was a confusing one.
I like it, man. I like that you took a lot of time to develop that one.
All right, well, Edmonton's the only takers I could see for Edmonton, and they can't absorb the cap alone. They'd need a third party to help them. So I think Detroit
that's
and
a good process.
Stevie Y has $17 million to work with right now. I think he has no problem taking that cap in for 2 picks. He gets a third and a fourth rounder for basically saying, all right, give me some of that cap, and then send them off again.
Yeah, that's a good breakdown. Well, it's a good trade.
I know that was confusing. I'm gonna listen to this in a week, and I'm gonna say, what the fuck was I talking about?
That's good, man.
It's gonna be so messy.
I like their trades.
Thank you, man.
I like them.
Any other players you think could be on the? Sorry, folks, I was cutting you out of the whole conversation. That's it for me and Steve's picks. Steven, do you have any other players you think could be on the move?
I do, but I don't know if I have any information to discuss with you tonight.
I don't either. I was just gonna go off. I was gonna say I was thinking that we could do a trade for Vlad Tarasenko, but with St. Louis doing so well, I don't think they are going to let him go.
They might just hold on to him.
They might just hold on to him until the draft, and if Vlad really wants to go after he's had his
make a move in the offseason.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's a good discussion, man. There's a lot of moves to be made, and hopefully, I was thinking maybe this trade deadline this year, maybe we'll do a live stream or something like that, make it interesting if we're available.
I'm not sure, man. Honestly, we should probably just do a breakdown after, because the trade deadline is some fucking boring, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a
You're just
long
there.
time, man.
It is, man. It's 24 hours.
Oh my god. Maybe
I'll be following along though.
I was thinking
for
about the
sure.
heat of it. We'll need to be.
Yeah.
We'll be very aggressive on the Instagram page that day.
Okay, we can't just throwing up stories and stuff.
Yeah,
All right, sounds
that's
good.
our promise.
It's our promise to you folks.
All right, now follow Hockey Tank on YouTube, Hockey Tank Podcast. Follow Instagram, Hockey Tank, and that's pretty much it. Listen on Spotify, Apple Music, your podcast listening platform of choice. That's my say, and we'll see y'all next week on my end. Trevor, you do your part.
I got nothing, buddy. That was beautiful.
Was it? I
very well
took
said,
I took your job.
You you kind of sounded like a a small print reader on an ad, like this medicine may cause diarrhea, heart attacks, or fatal injuries, or something like that.
Follow Hockey Tank on Instagram, Hockey Tank Podcast on YouTube. Listen on your podcast listening platform of choice, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Deezer, whatever it is. Yeah,
that's right. Then slip in a small may cause death, and then go on.
Yeah.
Anyway, folks, thanks for tuning in to the Hockey Tank Podcast. We hope to see you next week. Goodbye and stay safe.